Just some short announcements before we begin the reflection on today's Mass on this Wednesday of Holy Week. Tomorrow, Holy Thursday, there are two options for Mass if you wish to follow in Mass in the traditional form, with the sung in Latin, with, of course, in English. A sermon will be tomorrow here from Aku. It'll be live streamed at 5 p.m. So 5 p.m. tomorrow on the same channel, we will have the Holy Thursday Mass in the traditional form. If you want the Mass in English, at Belen, they're also going to live stream it at 8 p.m. So you have two options tomorrow. Father Julio Minsal will be celebrating tomorrow's Mass from Belen at 8 p.m. or 5 p.m. here at Aku in the traditional Latin form. For Good Friday, we'll have the oficios at Belen. Unfortunately, because of all the movement and the complexity of Good Friday, we're not quite equipped to do it here. And so it will be done in Belen, where we've got the proper sound and video equipment there. And so at 3 p.m., the traditional time of doing of Good Friday, it will be celebrated on Good Friday, 3 p.m. Through Belen and through Belen's YouTube channel. So if you look up Belen, look for the YouTube channel for Belen Jesuit, and it will be the live stream there for Good Friday. And then Easter Sunday, again live stream from here at the Agrupación, 9:30 a.m. in the traditional Latin form. And so that will be our way of celebrating this Triduum here, como agrupación también en este lugar. Y ya tenemos un poco de esa Semana Santa aquí ya preparada. De hecho, han visto ya, a veces se pregunta qué hace ese ornamento aquí en el altar. Es una cruz que tiene el velo ya puesto tradicionalmente desde la quinta y la última semana de Cuaresma. Se velan los crucifijos y todas las imágenes sagradas. Así que, bueno, la imagen que tenemos de falero es un poco grande para velar. No tengo un velo suficiente grande, pero sí el crucifijo del altar se vela. So we keep the crucifixes veiled during Holy Week to mark that time. That's a time of more interior recollection in a certain way. And it also follows a Jewish form, and well, more of an ancient form of mourning as well, where you cover the mirrors, you cover the art, you cover the images in a certain way. It makes you reflect and focus more on yourself and what is here. And that's what we do on this day, on each day of Holy Week. This Wednesday is traditionally known as Spy Wednesday in English tradition. Spy Wednesday because of Judas who acted like a spy to hand over Jesus, to betray Jesus. And if you follow the readings throughout the week of Holy Week, they tend to focus on Judas. It's like almost Judas week in here. And already alluding to the passion, but also to the overall betrayal. And really when we look at it, what's the fundamental of sin? What is sin at its end but a turning away from God, a betrayal of God, a betrayal of that trust that God has already given to us, that He's almost forwarded, that He's paid forward to us already. It's a betrayal of those commandments that He has given, His divine law. Us knowing what they are, still willingly disobey and work against them. And so, perhaps not for nothing that the focus on these days is Judas. Because in a certain way, we have to identify with Judas here. And that's something that we don't want to do. That's something we never want to do. But when we look at it, and especially if we pay attention to the words of Jesus here, when He says, one of you will betray me, and each one of the apostles say, it's not me, is it me, it's not me. Well, when we look at it, every single one, in as far as is a sinner, will betray Jesus. Peter will deny Jesus in the most important moment. And so the betrayal, even though it's focused on Judas and some betray more seriously than others, it's almost reminding us that all of us will turn away from God at one moment. We all have betrayed God at one moment. Now, the difference is, remember that Jesus still chose Judas. Knowing everything, Jesus still chose Judas as one of the 12. On one hand, it lets us know that Jesus still gave Judas a shot. Knowing that Judas, and being seen perhaps Judas's weakness already, still Jesus gives him an out. And there's the power of free will for us. Judas was not predestined to be damned. He was not predestined to betray Jesus. Judas did it out of his own free will. Judas could have turned away. Jesus gives him the opportunity to change, yet he doesn't. That's the tragedy there of the sin. And that's why the sin of Judas is even more graver. Having all the opportunity to change, having all the opportunity to reconcile and confess to Jesus for what he did not. And so there we see really the graveness of Judas there. But thinking again, if we were one of those 12, if we were any of those disciples, for we know that the day that Christ was crucified, the disciples scattered. They ran. All those crowds that had followed him, that had witnessed the miracles, they disappeared on that day. They also turned their backs to Christ. And so when we see ourselves and when we examine ourselves, we cannot turn our heads away from the reality that Judas provides. We have turned our backs to Christ at one moment. And usually when we think about it, we don't want to picture ourselves as Judas. No. But we are capable of it. It's almost in us. We have that capability to abandon Christ. And we must confess to that. And so sometimes I have encountered in the times I've had to visit people at the end of life, and sometimes a reluctant visit, that the person who's dying doesn't really want to see a priest. A lot of times that carries some connotations, that cuando el cura aparece en la última hora, that's it, es la última hora. Y no quieren ver el cura en el hospital porque it's almost like bad luck. And sometimes families will call and ask for the priest to come in to give last rites, but the person who's receiving doesn't even know that yet. And so, well, it'll come out in one way or the other. And a lot of times in those situations, I've noticed some people are reluctant to confess or even receive the last sacrament. And they always tell you the same thing. No hay remedio para mi Padre. No hay perdón para mis pecados, Padre. I've sinned too much that no one can forgive me. Or I've messed up so much in life that it's too late. Don't bother. But that's exactly what that opportunity is. It's the last opportunity. Let's not blow it. Let's not throw it away. And so in this moment when we think, especially in the light of Good Friday and the Triduum that we're about to celebrate, let us remember those chances that the Lord has given us. And like I said again, this quarantine and this situation that we have, that I'm on one side of the screen and you're on the other side of the screen, let's make the best of it. Let's make it count. If anything, when we're back on the same side of the screen, that we look at all the opportunities that we have for the sacraments, especially for confession, and we look at them in a new light. That's the opportunity that Christ gives us every day to change, to reconcile, to forgive. Let's make the best use of it when they're restored to us, because they will be restored. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.